What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And apparently 2022 is the year of the buyouts. We had Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard for, what was it, like $69 billion. And now we have Sony directly trying to compete with Microsoft, clearly with this. But Sony buying Bungie for $3 billion. This is pretty crazy. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell for notifications so you do not miss an upload. And without further ado, let's get into this one. So Sony has officially announced that they are buying Bungie for 3.6, to be exact, billion with a B, $billion, which in the grand scheme, not a bad price compared to Activision Blizzard selling for $69 billion. $3.6 billion for Bungie, which a lot of people still think, I was talking to some of my friends, still think that they make the Halo games. They don't. That's 343 Industries. But they were known for Halo for a very long time before moving on to the Destiny games. They got Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 and a bunch of expansion packs. And I mean, that's kind of it. I was doing some research on Bungie. I was like, what games do they have outside of Destiny? Nothing. But still, Destiny is a gigantic franchise in its own right. That was one of the major pillars when Google Stadia launched as like their main focus of trying to get people to come to their platform, which didn't work, but at least it was big enough for them to use it and try. So Sony is buying Bungie. Interesting move. I like it from a competitive standpoint. I know there's a lot of people that are not happy with the consolidation that the maturing video game industry is going through right now. There are legitimate concerns about how this could lead to a more streamlined version of gaming, where everything is going to just go to one console and go streaming, and everything's going to turn into serious console wars with very expensive consoles that, with the chip shortage, good luck even getting your hands on them this generation, what it's going to be like in the next generation and how much they're going to cost and how people are going to be able to compete and keep up and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's looking too far into this. From a pure business standpoint, Sony needed to do something. And while I don't think Bungie is like the best developer out there, especially because right now it's just one franchise that they're working on, and it's one that I have friends that love it. I'm just kind of casual with Destiny. I never really got too far into it past the first one, but I know people that love it are like hardcore into it. The problem is it's just that's one segment, that's one section of gamers, whereas Activision Blizzard had a gigantic array of games that were multi-billion-dollar franchises, all of them in their own right. So it's a good first step. I've heard a lot of people chattering about, okay, maybe that's what this is Sony's first step into competing with Microsoft. And they're starting with the creators of Destiny, which is Bungie. Good start. What's next? Because if you're just buying Bungie, okay. It's kind of weird though, right? Like they'd only do that if they planned on buying more, in my opinion. And this is going to lead to more consolidation in the maturing video game industry. Potential more companies that could buy on the table. I've seen Square Enix thrown around, Capcom thrown around, Konami. I know a lot of people would love to see Konami purchased to revive their old games and bring them with a fresh coat of paint and make them good again. Sega, Sammy, always on the table. And that's just the initial, the big ones that people talk about all the time that never seem to happen. But like I said, 2022 might be the year where that starts happening. So it's something to think about and consider. And it's an interesting direction that Sony has taken with this. One that honestly is unexpected from my perspective. I did not see Sony trying to compete with Microsoft. I thought they were going to focus more on turning into like some kind of mix between Microsoft and Nintendo, where they focus really hard on making first-party games as good as they can, like Nintendo does, and in the same breath, making their console as good as they can and most high-fidelity graphics and most powerful, like Microsoft does. But what it looks like is Sony is more gravitating towards what Microsoft is doing and trying to be like a Microsoft 2.0. I don't know, like Game Pass, as I've said, is one of my new favorite things in this generation. It's just such incredible value for your money. And while Sony does have something that does compete with Game Pass, it's nothing like what Game Pass has to offer yet. So I keep going back to maybe buying Bungie was the first step towards enhancing Sony's online streaming offering. That would be making the most sense to me. It's interesting, though, to see what could come from this. The other concern a lot of people have had is what happens with the exclusivity. Is Destiny going to be removed from Stadia and Xbox platforms? Is this going to be strictly like a Sony thing going forward? I don't think so. At least not initially. Just the same with Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. I don't imagine this is something that's going to immediately impact the platforms that the games are available on. I highly doubt that. What I would expect is the next generation, the evolution of these games, what they come out with in the future. Timed exclusives first onto the PlayStation, and then going from there might be the first step into that pool. And then they might just dive head on into being like, okay, now the next game is just going to be on Sony platforms or Microsoft, Activision Blizzard on Microsoft platforms. That may be my guess of the direction that this happens. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will eventually be where this leads to is a lot more silos in the game industry. And that could be good or bad. I know a lot of people want more third-party games to be on everything so they don't need to buy every single console to play their favorite games. And I get that. I totally get that. But at the same time, there's something to be said for businesses trying their best to get your business. And by doing what they're doing is putting themselves in the best position to do that. And as long as they're not being nefarious about it, as long as it's just business, I'm fine with it. I have no buts about it, but I do think eventually that's what's going to happen with these games. There's going to be a lot more exclusivity down the road until it just turns into a bunch of extreme silos in the game industry. And in a weird way, the time flows like a river and history repeats. It's that Secret of Mana. Obviously, there's a poem by someone else before that too, but Nintendo and Sega back in the day, exclusives versus exclusives, trying to sell the Genesis and the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, stuff like that. And it kind of got to a mishmash throughout all the years of the third parties just going to everything and people would just buy whatever they wanted. And now it kind of feels like we're going back to the times of more exclusivity to get more people to play on specific platforms. So that's my thoughts on this situation. It could totally go a completely different direction, but as of right now, that's what I'm seeing out of this. And my biggest interest, I'm fascinated with what's going to happen next, because this feels like such a small move in comparison to Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, that why would Sony do this and then just stop? I feel like it's the first step in a long list of game developers that will be scooped up. Maybe not the big guys like Square Enix and Capcom, like I was saying, but I don't think this is the last of the purchases, not by any stretch of the imagination. Anyways, that's my thoughts on this situation. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. I'm going to leave the video right there. If you made it to the end, thank you, as always, and you stay smashing. Smash,